Hello, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to look at how you can print out your resource materials. Instead of spending $120 on a very painful to read school finance textbook, we're going to use some actual documents from the State of Utah Office of Education financial website. You've received some instructions. We're going to work today with fiscal year 2012, fiscal year 12, but in future years that might be 13, 14, because it's updated. But we're going to be looking here at the chart of accounts, at financial reports, and minimum school program. This is how we do it. You can either click on those links there, but if they're not working for you or you don't have that sheet handy, you need to get to know where to find this information anyway. You go to the USOE webpage, schools.utah.gov. You're going to come over here and click on departments. So upper left, at least today, departments, and you're going to look for school finance, which today is right down here on the right. Click on School Finance, and what this does is this opens up the web page for the State Office of Education finance materials. The two areas, it's going to load here and it's a little slow because it has a picture and stuff, but the two areas we're going to focus on primarily are financial reports and minimum school program. Now I encourage you to get to know this whole financial website, but again, we're going to start here with financial reports. Down here is the superintendent's annual report. That's the state superintendent annual report. You might find it an interesting read. But for now, let's click on financial reports. And right here is the chart of accounts. Now this is a very important resource for anyone handling finances. You can always refer to this, so it's not a matter of memorizing these, but as you become a budget manager and you begin using these codes, it will be very helpful to be familiar with them so that you understand that those numbers, that string of numbers is not just a string of numbers, it actually has some meaning. And in financial speak or funded accounting code, it is very helpful. So we're going to ask you to print out all of these definitions, but first let's start with the codes themselves. This is two things here. Again, as I said, today we're working with fiscal year 2012, so you would click on this and these happen to open up another page here which you can print out. I suggest that you print these out, put them in a notebook for ready reference, because you're going to need these for assignments and quizzes and other things. So this is simply a list of what these codes are. So 8112 is petty cash. All right. So going back, we're going to close that. We don't need it anymore. And functions. Functions are very important. Here they are. Very important to know. Function 1000 is anything to do with instruction. So function 1000, very important to know. When we come here, we look at all of those. I want you to print out each of those. They're simple lists of what those are. Now we're going to come back to the chart of accounts page where we had just gone into the account codes. And again, encourage you to print out all of these and put them in a notebook. So the count codes are just the list of the codes. Right here, we actually get into some definitions. So here you're going to get 1000, which is instruction, but then there's going to be this explanation of what can be encoded that way. So I want you to print these out too for each of those. Function, fund, object, and revenue. Okay, very important. Now let's go back. Here we had clicked on financial reports. We'll do that again just so we can take you back to where you know. Financial reports, we just visited chart of accounts. Now we're going down here to reports. Click on reports. This annual financial report, something we want to look at. And this is where we get into the files. Again, today we are working with fiscal year 12. So let's look at this revenue report. Now let's start with the balance sheet. If you're not familiar with Excel, I'd suggest that you open up Excel or another spreadsheet, get familiar with how they work. Now this is actually downloaded. So on my computer it looks like this. On yours it might be a little different. But you come here and you open that downloaded file. It's a fairly large file, so it'll take a moment, but it's opening up in Excel. If you are a Mac user, I think there is an option for Excel for Macs, and I'm sure it's free. Anyway, here on this spreadsheet, a spreadsheet is a series of sheets, if you will. Down here in the bottom left, I'm going to click on this far left button, which is going to take me over here where I can see the sheets beginning from the first one. The first sheet is 10 General Fund. So I'm clicking on 10 General Fund. You can see up here on the upper left that this is the sheet we're looking at. Basically, it lists every school district and every charter school district. A charter school is a district by definition and is a public school. So we start with the traditional chartered districts, and then we go to the more recent chartered individually districts. Right here across the top, here's assets, and so you can tell that. We're going to focus mainly on the general fund. You can see across the bottom here there are tons of funds, but we don't have time to get into the complexity of all of it. So we're just going to be working with the general fund. I'm going to close that out. Let's look at the revenue sheet here. Again, it's an Excel file that will open up. We will open it. It'll open back up in Excel. Okay, here we have the revenue report. Again, we want to click down here on General Fund. You see your districts, and we want to just take a quick peek across here, and I want you in particular to look at these sources of revenue. So you can come and look across here, and there are one thing you're going to do on one of your first assignments is you're going to be asked how much money comes from local sources, how much money comes from state sources, and going over how much money comes from federal sources. So you can find that information. Not too difficult, but again, this is the revenues report. You're going to find, for instance, Granite here. You can look at a particular district, highlight that so it's easy to find. But that's how it is. So get familiar with Excel if you're not already. So going back to where we were, financial reports. Well, thanks for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy getting familiar with these materials.